the green room now because there's plenty of space. Get in there. Cool. We're all good on YouTube.
Awesome.
Yeah, turn off the intro.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Answer the Call. It's another Answer the Call without Wave 1 Cargo, where we can show you video of us playing Cargo and talking about it. It's another waiting for things to happen. But I think there's still some conversations to have. If this is your first Answer the Call, though, this is a podcast where myself and Croncy talk about the ongoings or even sometimes a specific topic in Star Citizen and what's going on with that. But the call part is you guys can call in through Discord and share your thoughts. Croncy and I have spent a lot of years building up our following or our reach, I guess, and you guys can kind of use that to share your opinions. I don't believe that only streamers should have opinions. I think everybody should. And
I disagree. Mike said that I have to let people call. It was really disappointing.
So that's kind of the idea of the show. That's where it's always came out from. So Discord's open. We have an Answer the Call Discord, ! Podcast, and Twitch. If you're watching on YouTube, it will be linked down below. And we do this at 10 a.m. Eastern time. I don't know what that is UTC. I'm assuming that's 1500 UTC or 1400 UTC.
I think it's 1500. I don't know.
Yeah,
it always messes me around every time we have to swap for daylight savings and stuff.
Yeah, same. So it's in that range. If you guys ever want to pop by on a Sunday morning. So to get into the topics today, lots of MMO talk on SCL, lots of grind talk and things like that. Then we saw there's a new dynamic event coming. That's obviously not so dynamic, but a new event coming. Let's just call it an event. Some interesting dev posts on Spectrum, a roadmap roundup that was no rounding up of anything, and I don't know what else have I missed. So those are kind of some of the things that we'll chat about today. Yeah,
that's the big stuff. Obviously, we alluded a little bit to Eva Cardi, and we'll probably get to that last. Just having like more patches and working a little bit more consistently, but it's in a state, and it's not a good one.
I think people are tired of hearing about it too. I think this is your first Evo, but something that also happens with Evo is their Evos get burned out as well when things aren't being refreshed and just like anybody else would. And it's when long Evo cycles happen, the community does tend to get tired about hearing it, I think, as well. So I think it's probably best to keep it towards the end. What do you want to start with, though? It's kind of weird though, because like every conversation is about what's in Evo. So
everything's cargo. Everything is like pretty much related to cargo. Maybe we'll start with the dev post because there was the interesting one about the like salvage and being able to blow up ships and stuff. So
all right,
it might be a good one. But it just affects people a bit more,
absolutely,
than I think us talking about Evo with no visuals over and over again.
Yes, which
is interesting stuff there, but we'll get to it later.
All right, so I got that up. So Luke Presley, this is actually something that is related to last week a little bit, but am I ready for us for this? Actually, I might not be entirely. Boop, boop, boop. Almost. Press that button and then I'm ready for us. Beautiful. Okay. So Luke Presley posted I think people were a little confused. We were as well. That last week there was a patch in Evo saying something along the lines of you're going to be able to move salvage ships in green zones or tractor beam them or whatever. And I think there was a little bit of confusion on like, what is a green zone? What is an unowned ship? What does all this mean? And he just came in and just dropped a bomb and said, this is what it all is. And got to say, I liked what I heard so far. I don't know. Do you have anything specific that you appreciated or anything?
I mean, it's the whole of this is obviously just a fantastic change in maybe not their design philosophy, but like I'm glad that this exists. It has been a pain going to DCs and going to bunkers and really wherever else, and just seeing 30 different ships in the location that haven't been dealt with, and the server hasn't cleaned up or anything like that.
Mhm.
And now that we can sort of clean it up ourselves, I'm hoping that sort of issue is going to be lessened. It is still weird that we are doing it ourselves, I guess, but from and we were kind of talking about this yesterday, Mike. From like a salvage operation idea, this is kind of dope
I
because now you
totally
can
see
actually,
ya.
yeah, you can actively go to a location that gets a lot of traffic and be like, all right, cool. There's 20 leftover ships here. Let's go. Let's get them all done, right?
Yeah. I would love to see the game recognize, like, at this location is 3, like, this is totally copium dynamic mission type stuff,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
at this location there are 3 unknown ships, and it's shootout missions for people to do that. Or
Mhm.
like, this is something that I'm really starting to feel strongly about. Do we need the game to tell us what to do? In the sense of, do we need the game to spit out a mission for everything we should be doing?
Not for everything, of course, no.
Oh,
But I think that
no.
there's always that like the initial push type thing is always good.
Yeah,
You
I
know? Yeah.
agree. And I think we'll get more into this when we talk about SCL as well, because
Mhm.
they made a comment about that, right? But
Yeah.
the thing for me is what that I love the most about this, and yeah, we talked about this before the podcast a little bit, was that I totally see organizations that like to do kind of salvage
Mhm.
or mining and stuff together to just get together with a couple vultures or a reclaimer and a few people on it, or combination of the two, and just going around and quantum traveling to every spot that they can
Mhm.
and just cleaning stuff up. And they're going to make money
Yeah.
doing it. They're going to be there's a purpose to it. You're helping the game. You're helping other people around you. I could totally see this being a situation where players are at a location and
Mhm.
announcing that there's unowned ships there. If anybody's got a salvage ship wants to clean them up, come
Yeah,
on
yeah.
over here, right? Things
Yeah,
like
here's a free
that.
payday.
Yeah, the thing I get on these what would they be called? Like campaigns almost. Where like I
Mhm.
realize the game needs something and I just never stop talking about it until it happens.
Yeah.
Or they tell us it's not going to happen or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
The game needs to give players tools to solve the problems of the game more. Just
Yeah.
themselves, right? Instead of
Yeah.
monetizing it or whatever through spaceships, they just need to give us
Mhm.
tools to just solve some of the problems ourselves. And this is one of them, right? Just there's a
Yep.
bunch of shit lying around. It is causing performance issues for people and the server.
Yes.
Go and clean them up.
Yeah.
And I think people are going to be happy to do that. The amount of excitement around the one line in the patch notes post and then this is not surprising to me, and it's quite refreshing though, and nice to see that people
Yep.
are hyped about this. They're going to go in there and do it, and I just think it's cool. I just think it's cool.
Yep.
Real quick though, the clarification side of things. If you
Mhm.
aren't reading the screen, maybe you're watching this on audio only. Unowned vehicles are, because this is what people were confused with. What is an unowned vehicle? If you claim a
Mhm.
ship, it becomes unowned, or an AI ship is that no longer has a pilot in it is unowned. So killing a pilot in some AI ships is going to be difficult. So you got to hard death a lot of ships. Soft deathing them might not
Yeah.
be an option for those. So it's no longer illegal to damage, tow, destroy, scrape, or structurally salvage them anywhere, including armistice zones. Now, that's a weird one because a lot of the things you would do to do those actions are not allowed to happen at armistice zones. I don't know if you could turn on salvage beams there. I'm not 100% sure on that. You certainly can't
Yeah.
shoot
Yeah.
weapons at an armistice zone, right? Um,
Yep. But that has not always been the case. So it's probably
yeah,
just like a catch-all for when maybe they bring back the armistice zones where it's just illegal to do stuff there rather than actively stopping you from doing things, right?
yeah. And the other thing is there are monitored zones that are not
Mhm.
armistice. So you're no longer going to get a crime
Yep.
automatically through the monitored system by doing these things.
Mhm.
And then he also says there is no way to tell that they're unowned right now. And he's
Yeah.
raised that bug up to the people that will fix that, hopefully, by the time this is live. The other thing is, they said green zones. Are green zones armistice zones? Yes, green zones are armistice zones. They use those words interchangeably, and it
Yep.
is illegal to tow an owned ship in an armistice zone, though I'm hoping to increase the grace period you are given before a crime stat is awarded so that players can move ships a short distance to remove obstructions. I don't think that's necessarily a good idea because
it feels like it's probably going to be
what if
really
I'm only
abusable.
obstructing for 10 seconds and somebody wants to troll? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
there's
yeah.
that.
No, you get a line of people with tractor beams. Each one pulls it for 10 seconds.
yeah. Like, we will find a way. But obviously you need your shields off or power off for that to happen anyway. So yeah. But in general, love this idea. Super awesome. Really love this idea, honestly. I think there's going to be a lot of people just doing this and having a good time. And I think it's a very wholesome thing and very, very good to talk about. And I'm glad we talked about it for as long as we have, because I hope it inspired some people to go out and do this now. Like, oh, that's a good idea. I'm going to go do that, right? It gives you something to do in the game.
Yeah. It's also likely that this is a, because they could have done this before, because these issues have existed forever, right? I imagine this is like, if this stayed in, it may be game breaking for freight elevators. Like it may just like if the wrecks and stuff
You
were
just
just
lock
there all
them.
the time. Exactly. So it's potentially just a future stopgap for the new patch, and that's fine by me. But yeah, I imagine that's why it was enacted now.
Yeah, for sure. Jumptown nerf. They talked about that a little bit.
We talked about that last week. We talked about the Jumptown nerf last week.
Well, they addressed it.
Yeah. I must have missed this.
It's a very light addressing, but it is addressed. Nico, community manager, addressed this as basically we're trying to make an MMO economy.
Yeah.
So deal with it. And we'll talk more about this. Is that sort of what it was? And like, we understand you guys are upset, but bear with us, and blah 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 blah. Yeah, it's just expressing that there's going to be growing pains with this economy stuff, and we can't all do it at once, which they also addressed on SCL as well. So I think it might be a decent time to just, you want to jump right into that conversation, since it might make sense at this moment. Jared asked a really good question on SCL and is like, why not wait to do all this and just have it done? And they kind of expressed that it would just add, like, okay, well, if that's the case, then we would be adding more content to the game with the old system, which means we would have to do more work to fix it.
It seems like it would be more of a pain, essentially, to do it that way.
Yep. So it's just rip the Band-Aid off, and it's going to suck. And this is the suck. Like, 10K per box that's not bad.
That's decent money.
1/8 SU box is good money.
Yeah.
It's just, it's not as good as it was, and it's also not as good per hour, per the risk or whatever, in comparison to the other things that they never got to.
Yeah.
Some things that we've talked about lots, though, is like things that they've already said they got to, like RMC and stuff like that, is still just overwhelmingly better than any of the content in the game currently. So it's like, well, you already got to that, and this is, so it's, those are the ones that are a little bit weird and questionable still. But outside that, yeah, they addressed it, figured I'd bring it up. And then a very minor one, if we want to talk about this now, is the combat visors. Somebody was like, yo, combat visors, like, I feel like if I don't have one, I'm missing out. And Zach is
there's
basically
no reason not to wear one, right, at the moment, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. And Zach's like, you're right. But the reason being is because you don't have other stuff. So the idea of not having a combat visor because you have a X thing, which they're not saying anything about what they're doing, which definitely means CitizenCon already, I think.
100%.
Is just telling that story, sadly. But the idea here is that you will eventually trade your combat visor for something else if you're interested in certain types of content, I think.
Yeah, which is fair. Like it's kind of like saying it's like, oh, I feel like I'm missing out if I'm not doing mining. It's like because you don't have refining. Like, it's just yeah, the feature that replaces it just isn't out yet.
Yeah.
There were a couple of mentions in SCL about things that I imagine they're keeping to their chest because of CitizenCon. One of the other like small ones that I want to talk about, because obviously we'll talk about like the greater cargo stuff in a sec, was the mention of like they mentioned a couple of times. What is it? Space Sim, Star Sim.
Star Sim. Yeah.
And once again, lots of like really close to the chest. There was even one specific sentence from I believe his name is Nick, that guy,
Yeah.
who said, "When we want to tell you, we will tell you." So I'm almost certain they're going to be reviving Tony Z out of his ice chamber for Citizen Con,
New bet.
assuming he's there. But
New bet.
I imagine that stuff's coming. Yeah,
New bet. New bet. Are we gonna make a new bet? Tony Z at SitCon or no?
maybe once we're closer to SitCon. I don't want to be stressing for 3 months waiting for the answer.
every update is Tony Z there. Yeah, there's a 0% chance Tony Z shows up there. That's my feeling. So,
Sure.
but
Regardless, Star
they
Sim, talking about
literally
Star Sim,
said Tony on Star Citizen Live.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's that might change some of the doubters' minds. But the yeah, I don't know. I think what else from this that sticks out to you personally? Because I mean, this was the highlight of the week. Probably was this SEO.
Yeah, tons of conversation. Like it was obviously following the ISC as well, so lots of sort of carry on conversation about just cargo missions in general. A lot of the answers, or like a lot of the questions, were just stuff that like if you haven't been following the development of missions, you just won't know about, and that's fine, right?
Yep.
People need to find that out somehow. Um, some of the stuff I am glad that is on their radar, but I am not surprised because it's Elliot, and anytime I hear from Elliot, he seems to know what he wants at the very least.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear. So
Execution
like, yeah,
are very different things than what we want. He's very much a
exactly.
Star Citizen developer, if you would. Oh, here's something from Twitch chat that was a really
Yeah.
healthy thing. This is from Mulman in Twitch chat. Hybrid economy confirmed was really good to hear. And
Yeah.
he didn't just say hybrid economy. He said like player focused hybrid economy. So all the people that were thinking it was like 9 NPCs and me,
Yep.
it doesn't feel like that's their intentions. Again, what they say versus what they can execute are always going to be different, or always
Yep.
going to, things are going to change between what they say and when they actually execute it. So, feel however you want. I know how I feel, and that is I'll wait till I see it. But
Yep.
always hearing it and knowing that they hear you or that your concerns are their concerns is a comforting thing, though.
Yes.
So them wanting it to be a player focused hybrid economy where there's you can't break it because we have Star Sim, or you can't we won't let a system just die because it's boring. That system doesn't have anything fun in it. Is healthy. That's what it sounds like based on this SEL that they want to do. But whether they achieve it or not are two totally different things. But we're just discussing their intentions at the moment.
We're not going to find that out for a while as well.
Exactly.
It's
So
another thing that's going to take a very long time for us to get to see.
we can only discuss their discussion, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
So don't get mad. Yeah.
But yeah, I was glad to hear. I was glad to hear that things like the hazardous cargo is a thing that they want to bring in as a thing that we haven't seen in Ivacati yet.
Yeah.
But we obviously saw with like the delivery missions after the initial like Xeno threat came out. Awesome, cool, sweet. I'm very excited for that because I think that's a good layer of depth for that sort of stuff. Them continuing to talk about special types of cargo that may require refrigeration, or I mean, they went really pie in the sky when they started talking about livestock, which I don't think is remotely close within years, but that's it's in their minds as a concept, right?
I think it's coming really soon because Elliot did this thing where it was like, I can't say. Like he started saying I can't say and then stopped himself.
Sure.
So maybe okay,
Sure.
coming in the game is different. I think they'll
Sure. Yeah.
probably they might show something stupid at SitCon, something like that. But yeah,
Maybe.
he was kind of like I can't and then yeah, it was like I'm not going to leak this sort of thing was the vibe that I
Yeah.
got from that. So I think it's something that they intend to do, but I think it's more of there is livestock in this box and maybe that box makes a sound.
Well, that's exactly what he said. He was like,
Yeah.
"I wish I could just make a box that was a cow making a sound, and that was it."
Yeah.
Um, so I imagine that if we do get it, it'll be a little bit more complex than that. But I also don't. Yeah, I still don't think it'll be anytime soon. But maybe stuff like refrigeration, because a lot of the when they first showed engineering, like the capabilities of engineering and what it can do to rooms, there was like temperature control, I believe.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that functionality is at least concepted and at least was in a working concept of some kind at some point.
Mhm.
I feel like there's no reason that it can't be possible for them to link them the way that CRG do their dev, right? So that sort of stuff may come sooner rather than later. And that'd be awesome. That'd be cool. Um, the one thing as well that they mentioned that I found really funny. So the last couple of weeks, everyone's been really mad about the payouts of the cargo missions, and we talked about it last week. And it's
Yep.
basically a nothing burger, but they mentioned it again today. Um, the payouts are fine, and I still do not understand why people are getting mad at them. And Nick is part of the economy team, right? So he's part of the guys that are actively balancing all of these, and sort of talking about the numbers not being final, blah 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 blah. It just really made me sort of realize that people do not understand. I think what this role, what this career is supposed to be in the game.
What do you think it is? Because I don't necessarily think the payouts are fine from what I've seen so far. But what I'm curious where you're coming from that. I don't think there's a point in making an argument against you, but
Yeah, yeah,
but yeah, so like we're not going to argue about this, but I'm just curious where
yeah, yeah.
your head's at.
Well, so yeah, cargo hauling, at least in like any game that's had that available, which to be fair, my only real experience with it has been Eve,
Okay.
is it's the slightly more chill like experience that you can have. Obviously in Eve you can go like really crazy routes, super risky, right?
Yeah,
And I
but
and I
cargo
do
haulers don't
want
make
that to still
shit
exist
in
in the
Eve.
game. Exactly. If you are doing the safe route cargo hauling, you don't make much because
Yeah.
realistically the risk isn't particularly high. And
Yeah.
that's fine and that's cool and I like those being in the game. And so when people are like, "Oh, well, I could just make more money bounty hunting." Yeah, you could.
Yep.
Like end of discussion, right? Like
Yep.
I don't know, it's just I find it a bit strange. But even with that in mind, the numbers are subject to change. They changed essentially this week, so we don't know where this is going to end up before we get into our first live patch.
Yeah. So I don't think that they're fine because they're not fine in relation to other things. But that's the same argument that everybody else is having, right? Is that like they're not fine because they don't currently make sense to me. My brain is struggling to wrap my head around the idea of how you would have a vulture making 500k an hour and C2 mission, like a full C2 making 20k
Mhm.
or something like that, right? Like, and that's an example. I don't think. I mean, I think it's around there to be honest. But the idea is a bit weird and it's just not making sense. But then they also expressed that Star Citizen is trying to be an MMO, which is today's discussion,
Mhm.
right? And it was really around this specific conversation that they had is that
Mhm.
you are going to grind. I hate the word grind because the word grind means not fun to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Playing the game should be fun. It's not necessarily the mission designer to make the game fun. It's not necessarily the economy guy's job to make the game fun. It's the gameplay designers' jobs to make the game fun. The people who design the ships, the people who design the way you interact with cargo and all that stuff. That should be the
Sure.
fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
So on and so forth, right? Whoever makes the tools so we interact with each other. Why
Yeah.
a cargo haul is the fun. And I look at them, and I think Elliot said it perfectly.
Mhm.
Missions in MMOs tell the story of the world that you're in.
Mhm.
They're not typically the most profitable thing.
Mhm.
Sometimes they don't give you any money. They give you an item that you need to keep going or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what these missions are doing. They're saying, "Hey, Everus Harbor is a hub for a lot of cargo missions. You're going to be gathering and you're going to be bringing to and taking from this place a lot of different
Mhm.
things. But this location only over here only deals in this stuff. And these missions are what tells you and teaches you that stuff. Um,
Yeah.
and that's how I look at it. I look at the cargo
Mhm.
missions in the sense of um, when I'm doing commodity trading, I will pick up missions to fill the rest of my ship. Because I don't know how much
Yes.
commodity trading you've done, but one of the big things in Evo, definitely subject to change, it's not even on the list
Mhm.
of features that are ready for feedback, is many locations have significantly reduced SCU
Mhm.
holdings at their locations. So, like
Yeah.
places that would have thousands have 50 SCU of something.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know if that's placeholder or not, but I'm thinking that lots of small runs are going to be happening at these locations versus lots of big runs are going to be happening at other ones and so on. But you're going to be
Mhm.
doing those manually, making good money, being the company yourself versus working with the company, but you could take some extra supplemental stuff because your ship's not full.
Yep.
It's like a min
Yeah.
maxer's dream, is how I look at it.
I think it's also probably like, I mean, I'm gonna say it again just because you mentioned it. Yeah, subject to change, but it's also likely that it's because people are going to start withholding cargo within their actual hangars now as
When
well. So,
I will argue with you on this one. We're gonna have to fight on this one a little bit. That is not happening
well,
in
so
324.
I might be able to. I'm just gonna use a random place, and I don't know what cargo is
Yeah,
there, but
it's
I'll
fine.
use it
It's
as an
fine.
example. Let's say you're at Everest Harbor, and Everest Harbor are selling diamond for a really good price, but you've got a mission right now to go to Bajini, and the best place to sell diamond is at like I don't know, Lawville, whatever.
Okay.
Um, those are terrible location examples, but
Yeah. Say Crusader. Say a distance or Pyro or something.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You are then incentivized to buy the stock while you're there, and when you come back to it at another time, then you're better off. It's the optimization of your route type stuff. It's like, well, it's available right now, it's in stock, I'll buy it now, but I'm not going to send it off right now because I'm better off going over here and doing this trade route.
Okay, I'm not going to argue against you with that. I think that that's super fair.
Mm.
The part that I don't like, and I want to know your thoughts on this: 1,000 SCU
Mhm.
cap at every location. How do you feel
Yeah,
about that?
it's small.
Yeah. So it
Yeah.
works against that idea. I saw so many comments of people being like, I can, and to be clear, that number is current in 324 Evocati.
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
subject to change. The current, that is where they put it. So that works against the idea, and this is
Mhm.
Evocati, they take feedback in Evocati. So
Yeah.
if we're allowed to openly talk about something, that is something that I've given feedback on, and I think it's
Mhm.
a little off. So many people were so excited for this patch, specifically for that reason, is to hold stuff. And when you
Yeah.
realize that you can't hold that much stuff, you're like, whoa. And by the way, that includes items and everything. That is
Yeah. Yeah.
not just a
Yeah.
commodity hold. So
It's everything you have there. Yeah.
So the idea of buying and holding, not really a good option in the game currently, but
Sure.
feel free to give your
That's fair.
feedback and let them know where you want to be with that. Maybe they need to make an entirely separate commodity hold that's a little bit
Mhm.
larger, so you could do these things, but it costs money. Blah blah blah. But yeah,
Yeah, that's
so
fair.
there's that. Um, oh, what were we talking about that I said save it for the podcast? I know I wanted to go there next, and I forgot what it
Uh,
was.
can I scroll up far enough on the
No,
Twitch
no,
chat? No,
no.
damn. Um, we we were definitely talking about Evo, but I'm not sure what. We'll try to chat Twitch chat. Try to remind us. We'll talk about some other stuff in the meantime. Um, I'd like to quickly touch on. Actually, yeah, wipes. There we go. Thank you.
Yeah,
That was quick.
yeah.
Yeah. So during AirCL, Jared said the phrase, "Our intention is not to wipe." or some variation of that.
That's crazy to me.
I don't think it is, as long as you like. It's not a great phrase. Straight like it should be phrased better. But the way that I take it is like they're not trying to make a game that has wipes. They're not trying to make Tarkov, where wipes are going to happen, right?
Yes.
So the gameplay implications are supposed to be at some point we won't have wipes. We're going to have a lot more wipes. They're coming. They're coming soon.
I see. Okay. Because how I took it was, from this point forward, we do not want to wipe your progress. And the reason I feel that way is you kind of have to do that if you're going to raise the ship prices the way they did.
Yes.
So
100%.
like, we're not going to get a wipe in 4.0 is basically what I'm hearing. That's how I hear it. But now the way you say it, I'm like, oh, okay, that makes a little bit more sense. Maybe he needs to like go on Spectrum and clarify, which he won't do. I don't think he's ever typed on Spectrum.
Yeah.
But
that's how I read it, but I don't think it's very solid how I read it. I do think it's open to a little bit of interpretation, which isn't good.
For sure.
It needs to be,
which is never good when
solid.
when your job is communication, especially on a subject like that. So yeah. Well, so one of my mods in Twitch chat said it came from Jared. I think you're putting too much weight into Lando's statements. The thing is he said, I talked to Richard Tyrer before he said the statement. So there is unfortunately more weight in this statement than a normal. Jared said the same thing for the 50th time this month about putting realism over fun. So it's not the same thing.
I think the way that I read into it as well is just what I've expected from the game forever, is like, wipes will stop eventually.
Yeah.
And while you can balance the game right now for kind of what people play right now, there needs to be some element that is balanced towards the future.
Yeah. I think that's a fair way of looking at it, since it was so open for interpretation, I think. Your thought process there makes sense. I just worry that people think that Jared said there's not going to be wipes, and then immediately there's a wipe, and they're like,
there'll be a wipe in 2 months, and people will be like, what? He said no wipes.
I mean, on top of that, they haven't figured out a way to save your purchase ships in the game yet anyway, right? So
yeah, exactly. They're not consistent.
You're getting wiped every patch, no matter if you want it or not. So like, making a statement like that is just very odd timing for that one, and unfortunate, I would say.
Is there anything else from SCL specifically? Because I do really want to touch on the dynamic event.
Yes, we need to get to that. I'm just going to open up my week in review document and just make sure I didn't skip over anything.
That's why it's multi-purpose.
Well, no, we'll talk about Evo later. I just saw an Evo thing. It's an MMO, basically, was most of it.
I feel like people use grind just as a dirty word. Yeah, it's really, it is a proof, like, whether I was talking about this on stream before. From a player's perspective, you may not want grind, but it has successfully worked in like every MMO ever to keep people engaged in the game.
Yeah,
not just like there is bad grind where you're just like, this sucks, I want to uninstall right now, and you try to avoid that, obviously.
Yep.
But getting people to log in every single day to do a different type of mission works wonders. And I think Star Citizen has a sort of advantage against those other games where the gameplay can differ so much from mission to mission. So the value you could possibly get, and it's not great right now because the rewards aren't great. That's an important factor as well. But the fact that you could grind FPS missions, then grind bounties, then grind cargo, do any version of 3 all the time, rather than go into World of Warcraft, press the same 5 buttons over and over again on the same missions, is huge, right? So there's a ton of potential for the grind for Star Citizen to be great. But like I said, the rewards kind of suck right now, so it's not great.
Yeah, and like, even using a World of Warcraft, or like in my MMO experience, like in Ultima Online, I logged in every day because like there's like a bonus in UO that you would like basically guarantee to get a 0.1 skill gain like on your first action of something in that skill. And there was like an incredibly difficult skill to level called taming, obviously animal taming or whatever. and I would just log in every day, tame a horse, get my point 1, and then go do something else. That
Yeah.
was the worst grind I've ever experienced in my entire life because I had to get to 120
Yeah, jeez.
point 1 at a time. Okay.
Yeah.
So like, and like I could go and actively use the skill and hope to get it, but it was so rare when you got a skill gain.
Yeah.
That when I achieved that goal, it was so rewarding. So
Mhm.
no matter what game you're playing, even bad grinds
Yeah, yeah.
at the end feel really, really good. So again, it's
My
it's a thing that's
I
worked.
I grinded 99 fletching in RuneScape. You don't understand. And this was,
Yeah,
oh my
I
god.
do
All right.
understand. My brother's a RuneScape player. I do
Oh man.
understand.
There was a time when I'm showing my age now finally. There was a time during RuneScape 2 where if you wanted to do fletching, you couldn't just right click fletch all and then just let it auto do it.
Yeah.
You had to right click fletch 26, goes through the process, put everything back, bring everything back. I spent a week right clicking on my computer.
Yep.
And oh man, it was so sick getting that 99 cape. Let's go.
Exactly. It was hell while you were doing it, right?
Yeah,
Absolute
yeah,
hell.
100%.
But when it was done, it was like I did it. And the thing is like you're doing something that most people wouldn't be willing to do, and when you do it
Yeah.
and you have it, you get to kind of wear that badge of honor, I guess. It's an
Yeah.
MMO thing, and people might think it's toxic. There, like I saw somebody today said, "I buy ships because I don't want to grind to play for them,"
Yeah.
and I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay, cool. The game lets you do it. Go ahead, right?
Mhm.
If the game lets you do it, do it. I'm not going to judge you for doing it if a game lets you do it.
Yeah.
But what? It's an MMO.
I
Like,
feel like it's like I am okay with that person having their fun that way. But
yes, me
like I
too.
get what you're saying, but it's like, but I would have more fun if I, earned it, that sort of thing.
Yeah, but the difference for
Yeah.
me with MMOs is it's not me and you. Like I have my fun,
Yeah.
you have your fun, and we're okay being separate.
Mhm.
Your skipping actually takes away from my fun because part of the I did it is wearing the badge of honor that I did it. And
Yeah,
if
yeah.
somebody else can do it without having to go through hell, it's like hazing. Like, yes, hazing is actually toxic. It is not okay. I was
Yeah,
hazed in
you have
college
to
baseball.
experience the pain that I
Yeah,
experienced.
like I was hazed in college baseball. I was hazed when I played hockey. I didn't do it to the people that came in when I was a senior. We didn't do that kind of
Mhm.
thing. But it was like I get that like it's a thing in MMOs where it's like you have to go through the same pain that I did to get to
Yeah.
here. And yeah.
Not just MMOs. It's a big like actual, like social construct type thing, right?
Yeah.
Um I will say that actually that might bridge us a little bit more to a thing on SCL that we haven't mentioned yet, which is there was an answer to a question about using big ships over small ships that wasn't great.
Oh,
That I
but
do
dude,
think
it was
Jared
my
and Elliot were
question.
like scrambling to save.
It was
you know?
my question, and it's
Yeah.
the first time I punched the CIG chair.
And how to hold up?
It held up well.
Lovely.
Yeah, it's holding up. It's holding up. But I was very upset by the way that question was answered.
Yeah.
How did you
Yeah.
feel about it? And I'll tell you what what my attempt for the question, my point of the question was, is
Mhm.
you have built a bunch of spaceships, and the idea of the progression through CIG ships is you go from this one that is not very good, but it's what you have, and you're trying
Mhm.
to get to that one, which is very good, and that's the one you're going to use forever.
Yeah, which I don't like.
But that's how. But would you
Yeah.
kind of agree that's how it is?
That was how sort of.
No, like how do you
I'll give
feel
half.
about the
Just
way ship progression is now? Like you can use a prospector,
yeah, yeah,
but the mole exists. You can
yeah,
use a vulture, but the reclaimer exists.
yeah.
So there's the now
The
and there's the intended game,
yeah.
right?
I so I I'll say what they answered first, which was the first answer, which was from Nick, was like, why would you not use the larger ship to utilize all your all your things.
Is
And
Nick
it's
on
like
the fucking marketing team?
there
What?
there are things in the game right now for you to not do that. And that's why I was kind of mad at the answer. Like, there's plenty of reasons. It might be too risky for you to do that many missions in one ship. Hopefully, with not master modes, with engineering, it'll require more people for you to operate efficiently.
Yep.
There's going to be issues with like you getting targeted because you're a larger ship, that sort of thing. What I wanted them to answer, and once, like I said, Elliot and Jared jumped on it afterwards and were like, guys, it's fine, it's fine. Was like, you know, small ships, small but expensive cargo. Right? Risky, small, expensive cargo would be a reason to continue using those smaller ships and would be awesome. I do not want, outside of pretty much tutorial ships, I do not want ships to become useless once you buy a bigger version.
We can agree on that. If you don't mind, I want to jump in now because
go for it.
Why would I, in the way Star Citizen functions as we know today, because we can't predict how it's going to work in the future, small cargo, small ship. Small ship, smaller shields. Small ship, less health. Small ship,
faster.
Slower quantum drive. Not faster.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
Not better.
Yeah.
There is no reason to use a small ship outside of, I like this ship, it looks cool. And that's the reason
I would not
why
say there's no reason. I would say there's not enough reason.
Yes. Agreed. That's why I asked the question, and I think I just asked the question to the wrong fucking people. Because the question I should have asked it to are guys like Yogi, ship designers, things like that. The people who are going to make a smaller ship more valuable to a player are them.
Yep.
And I had this conversation on my stream today, and I'm going to make a YouTube video about it. And the only game I can reference is Eve here that I think does this really well is Eve just goes, you can't put this component on this ship. You just can't. It like Eve has low, high, and mid slots, low, mid, and high slots. And theoretically, anything can fit on them. But Eve goes, nope, you can't put that on this one, but you can put it on that one. And it basically says, and then on top of that, and this is something that they are starting to do, and thank you, Phil CIG, who pointed this out to me because I totally forgot about it, is the Prospector versus the Reclaimer. The Reclaimer literally has a bonus to its speed of salvaging. Like, there is a stat bonus on that ship. They gamified that ship. If they gamify smaller ships or just other ships in general, and gamify components more, which they talked, like Torsten talked about doing that, right?
Yep.
You have the answer to my problems, I think. Think the MSR. Yep. Why, like, let's go to cargo, because that was the real question here. Why would I run cargo with anything else than that? Well, what if the MSR was really fast? Okay, that's one thing. What if the MSR was more difficult to pull out of quantum? What if the MSR was more difficult to scan down, right?
Yep.
What if it just had inherently these bonuses on that ship? Oh, I'm going to a more risky area. Maybe I don't. And this is where Jared and Elliot were 100% right.
Yeah.
Like doing a bunch of small missions in a big ship. If you fail those, it's going to be painful, right? So if you die, it's going to be painful. You're going to be a target. Yes. How do I not become a target? That's sort of what you're. Yeah. No matter what, you're a target right now, for many reasons. But yeah,
because there's not enough people to choose from. Oh, it's a target? Well, that's my choice.
Exactly, right? So how do I become a harder target is sort of what I was trying to ask. And like you, there's hundreds of ships in this game. Most of them should not be useful. Part of the conversation that we had today on my stream is metas are a problem, but people didn't kind of understand what I meant by that. There will always be a meta ship. There will always be metas. But there is one combat ship you use or you're at a disadvantage. Use a Hornet Mark II. There is a couple cargo ships that you use, or you're at a disadvantage, use the bigger ones.
Yep.
Use them all. It's just better. Bigger cargo hold. It's just better. Bigger lasers. There's like literally no negatives or not enough negatives. They tried, but didn't succeed. But the thought was there with mining. The gamifying was there with mining. Just execution didn't work out too well. They can go back to it. Salvage. They're kind of doing it a little bit there. Didn't succeed as well there, right? So there's things they can do. It's just a matter of doing them. And I was trying to get that out of them. I asked the wrong people, and it pissed me off personally because I don't take it as a personal attack, but they were like, but Salty, not everyone has a C2 like SaltEMike. And it's like, yeah, dummy, that was the fucking point I don't want to fly the C2. And I'm sorry for calling you a dummy. I don't mean you're a dummy. I'm just like, why didn't this get through? That was the point of the question. I'm trying to, I want to fly an MSR. I want to use a freelancer. How many people, like, think about the long-term backers, and I'm so sorry for this rant, everybody. We'll get to callers and everything. How many people backed early in this game and fell in love with the freelancer?
Less people than backed in the last 2 years.
Unfortunately. Yeah.
that has nothing to do with your point.
Yeah, but it's just like, how do you make that? How do you make me find a reason to use it? It doesn't have to be the meta ship, but give me a scenario where it makes sense.
Yep.
That's what I'm trying. That's what I was trying to ask.
Yeah, and I own a C2. I don't want to always be in a situation where I just have the best cargo ship because I don't have anywhere to go from there. I want to be able to have other things to strive for, like completing certain missions in smaller ships that are required for whatever, right? Like, you're going to run out of sort of forward momentum if it's like, hey, here's your ship, you're done.
We may get an answer on ISC this week. Jump point sizes. The reason I fell in love with the freelancer, it was supposed to be the largest ship that can fit through the smallest jump point. And when this game grows, jump points are going to come into play, and smaller jump points were kind of said to have the quicker routes to get to some places. You might have to go boom, 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 boom with your hull C, but you can go direct shot with your freelancer. So there's other things that they can do. It's just that was sort of the question that they could have answered, and they didn't take it that way. They just took it as like, well, fuck you, SaltEMike, you just complain or something like that. And it was like, I'm trying to give you a fucking home run, put it on a tee for you, and you took the opportunity to make fun of me instead. And it was like, that was one of those where it was like, that one bothered me a little bit, just because it was like, this was your opportunity to sell your game to everybody, not just people who want to spend $5,000 on ships, right? And you fucked it up there. So yeah, that one. Yeah, and then mentioning me every 20 minutes is weird. I wish they would stop doing that. It's just stupid.
It's Elliot.
Yeah, I mean,
Bloody Elliot.
If Elliot's there, it makes sense. Like, Elliot hangs out in the stream, but other people, it's just, I don't know, it's weird. If you don't hang out in the stream, I don't get it. It's like become this weird meme that doesn't make any sense, and it's just probably confusing people.
True,
and pissing them
there
off.
are definitely people that play Star Citizen that are like,
who the fuck is that?
What?
Yeah, and are just like, what is this? So I kind of wish they would stop that stuff, but yeah.
Well, they'll stop when the paychecks stop coming through, Mac.
I would love to see that. The paycheck.
So I don't think there was anything else about SEL. But in ISE, they for the first time in almost a year, I would have to find the exact ISE, but it's been a really long time. They talked about Blockade Runner again.
Yeah.
And it has, as far as I can tell, completely changed from what it was going to be last year. In a good way. I do think the changes are good.
Okay.
So when they discussed it last year, they didn't have any like in-game footage for Blockade Runner. They for anyone who's aware, they not aware, they essentially have scrapped Ninetales Lockdown, which was a fine dynamic event in my opinion. It wasn't amazing. It definitely wasn't as
it was
grabbing
their
as
worst.
Xenotrade or Siege. Yeah, it was the worst of the four.
Yep,
for sure. And so they were like, well, let's, spice it up. The way they were talking about it last year is that it was like, all right, here's a place that gets locked down, and you're going to, I think they specifically said quantanium fuel and hydrogen fuel would need to be moved from one location to another through the
Yep.
blockade. Now it's, in my opinion, way cooler. So they lock the station down.
Smarter.
Definitely. There's a bunch of like warpable or jumpable points around the planetary system. So if they're doing Seraphim around Crusader, where you can go engage in pirates, fight them, and steal the cargo and return it.
These are the
Sick.
pirates.
Yeah, yeah.
They're
well, presumably.
Yeah, they're implying it in the video that they're actually they're. I mean, and we'll see that there's like a red marker on one of them. Like he's flying.
Yes, right,
he's flying it. He stole this whole sea, and is flying it around, or in this case, an MSR or whatever. But the
C2.
Yeah, C2. But yeah, so I like that they're taking what was, in my opinion, one of the best parts of Xeno and making like an entire mission of it, which is cool. I think it's a good idea. How do we think PvPers are going to feel about this? I don't think that they were not very hype, I would say, because the Ninetales was basically supposed to be theirs. That was supposed to be like, that's my PvP dynamic event.
They even got paid like per kill during Ninetales lockdown, per player kill. So assuming that still exists, because they didn't really touch on much other than just like, this is what the event is. It's just, there's stuff around. I'm curious to see how it is going to be for pirates. I will say, at least in terms of location, as long as pirates can also warp to all of the different spots where the cargo is, then I feel like there'll be pretty much no issue. It'll still be that PvP event.
Interesting that you think that. I was thinking the opposite kind of. I was like, as long as they're not able to warp there, people do the cargo side of things, and it's the PvP is happening at the actual station. And
blockade.
just to be they're part of the blockade. So there was no mention in this ISC about a criminal side of this mission. Elliot did end up going on Spectrum and just said, yes, there's a criminal mission associated with this. So I imagine it'll be similar to Ninetales, per kill, blah, 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 blah. Maybe it's get the stuff back for us and drop it off, something like that. I do hope that it is not just a kill fest, that there is, in order to complete the mission, there is like, hey, you have to cargo haul as well, pirates. So then it's pirates working with the logistics teams on their side as well.
Like they've got to move them out of the blockade to some other location or something.
Exactly, like bring them to Grimhex, something like that, right?
That could be cool.
I'd like to see that, because regardless, the PvP, or like people who just want to PK are going to PK. It's going to happen. But some people are also going to want to complete the mission as well. So, and if there's a worth it reward for the sides, they never mention rewards on this.
There's a money reward there, but they don't mention anything else.
Real rewards. Rewards that matter. So,
which, to be fair, Ninetales Lockdown was one of the first ones to have a reward. One of the CDF sets, I think. We got from that.
Correct.
I lost my train of thought.
Well, I don't know. I think just to add to this, I think it's a fine event. And Jumptown is the PvP event, and all PvP events really should just be like, hey, good stuff, go over here, kill each other. I think that's the best way to do it, personally. But overall, I like it's cargo. I like it. I got no problems with it.
It's pretty dope that it uses the freight elevators, right? We get straight into it with the new mechanic. We have not seen this in Evo yet, and I imagine we won't for a little bit because the servers are trash. But I do remember what I was going to say, which was in Ninetales Lockdown, one of the differences that may make PvP a bit harder to do here. In Ninetales Lockdown, you were like 200 kilometers away from each other at these different locations. There was a lot of movement around. Whereas if the blockade is just happening, or if like the whole crux of it is everything is happening around this one station, it may end up that it's too easy to blockade as a player. and so that could become an issue.
Yeah, perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure they've play tested and stuff, but at the scale of which we could play, probably not.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting in whatever wave we end up seeing this in. So just to be clear, hasn't been an Evo yet. This was the first time they talked about it. So this is all we know.
Pretty much. Well, it's the second time they've talked about it, but like I said, completely different to the first time they talked about it. So it's clearly gone under some sort of heavy reconcepting.
Okay.
Do we want to quickly talk about Evo? Mostly, I think, in regards to they did the thing that I asked them to do last week.
Big fix. So I got a lot to say about it. Yeah. So
yeah.
Well, hopefully not too much. I won't rant like I just did. I promise.
So auto loading is one of the new hot topics, obviously, and the first patch, it was literally just like 30 seconds per SCU. Box size was completely irrelevant. It sucked, and that was fine. It was the first patch, whatever. On Friday, well, Friday my time at least, they released another patch, and this one had balance changes for that. So they may have gone too far in the other direction. However,
they definitely went too far.
The idea is exactly what I wanted them to do, with one exception. So now it's, at the moment, like right now in Evo, I think it's 2 seconds loading for a single SCU, 3 seconds loading for a 2 SCU box, 4 seconds for a 4 SCU, and it kind of scales like that. I think at the end, it's 32 SCU is 15 seconds.
Yeah.
132 SCU box. Yeah.
Oh,
so they
did do a thing. Hold on. I could kind of do a thing if we want. I could like literally put it on screen. So yeah, go ahead. Keep talking.
So they scaled it in a way that I really like, which is like, per box, once you get to the larger ones, like it will still take a little bit more time to move a heavy box, but it won't take 32 times as long to move a heavy box. So they've done that scale. Awesome. Like I said, they did it too far in the other direction. It's way too fast, auto loading, to the point that I think it was something like 8 minutes to fully load or not even. It's like 6 minutes to fully load a C2, which is just far too quick. And the one thing that I still really want them to add is a price for auto loading. I want there to be something else that takes away from you from doing the auto loading versus someone just going into the freight elevator and moving them.
Yeah. So I did all this. This was the testing that I did. It's everything you just said. And full C2 means the maximum of these containers of that size to fit. There is zero cost at the moment to loading. There is a cost to unloading, which is odd.
And really, I did miss that.
Yeah, so somebody else tested it on Evo and posted it somewhere. I don't think I have the sheet on. I'll try to take a peek and see if I have it on any screens here. So you might go blind for a moment. No. Not there. No, but basically, like to unload a full C2 was like 3,200 credits. So, guys, zero cost to load and 3,200 credits to unload means they're just checking to see if things are working. That's it.
Yep.
It is it's meaningless in terms of the numbers or anything like that for now.
Yeah, I am glad to hear the cost is there though. That's good.
Even more so, a developer in chat was like, "Yeah, there's costs associated with it," and I'm like, "Brother, I don't see them."
No, they're right.
So their intention there is that they're supposed to be costs. So
fantastic, awesome. Yeah, so then in that case, that's pretty much everything I wanted with auto loading. So I'm glad that they're doing that. Obviously, the numbers need to change, but other than that, it's a good system. That's how I want that to be treated, because it's gonna make people actually, decide whether they want to do the auto load or do the fully load. Give them more options.
Yeah. Real quick before we move on to like callers and questions, Foundation Festival started, free fly. Yesterday, 2 days ago, and there's a referral reward, a Poa Nox, and then there's some like little pistol armor rewards, and then the standard paints that you get if you do certain things and if you're a good guide or whatever. So, in the end, there's a free fly in 323. Does anyone care? Not me.
We're in a lull at the moment. Outside of Evocati, there's just Star Citizen's just not enjoyable at the moment, in my opinion. But
Yeah, that's
yeah,
crazy coming from you. So it must be fucking horrible.
it happens. It happens.
No,
I need to. You know what I'll do this week? I'm gonna get back into racing. I'm gonna look up some tracks. I'm gonna try to go hard.
they killed Gravlev for me, man. So like I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, Gravlev's just in a weird place. So I'm missing racing. I should get into ship racing though, but I just never could get into it. But
Yeah. Fair.
yeah, all right. Let's you want to try to
Move on to some questions.
yeah, let's go for the the Discord questions first. Let me try to
Yep.
get that
So
functioning because to get
while
that
Mike
stuff
is
on the
getting
screen, I
that
had
ready,
to
guys.
do some goofy stuff.
If you want to ask us questions, or if you want to be featured on the show, but you don't like your voice, like I didn't like my voice before I started streaming, you can go to the Discord
Really?
and go to questions for the show. Oh, I hated it. I still kind of hate it now, but I'm used to it now.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can go to the questions for the show in the Answer the Call Discord, which will be in the description of YouTube or pinned on the YouTube chat, or in Twitch. You can go !my podcast, and you can ask your stuff.
Yeah. All right, here we go. First question. I did this thing so that we could put it on the screen. It's from uComic.
Let's go.
Yeah. He says, with freight elevators being used for cargo missions and such, do you see the Hull C working in its current iteration? I mean, with the massive penalty to manually loading versus auto loading, which now has changed, and now it's the other way around. For sure, some of the larger scale missions with 2K plus SCU being spoken of on offer. So obviously with the change, I'll just say this. The obvious intention here of them is for you to want to have a tough decision to make. Do I load my cargo manually and make less money, or make more money but lose out on time? Time is money. Or do I do it auto and pay the fee?
Well, so the Hull C essentially always auto loads now,
and still does. Nothing has changed
Yeah.
with the Hull C in Evo. Just so you guys know,
and I imagine
still
it
doesn't
won't.
work.
Yeah, whether it works or not is an extra issue. But yeah, I imagine it won't change for a while. The way that they talked about, it was just like cargo in general. I don't think it was specifically the Hull C, but the way they talked about the balancing of mission rewards was with manual loading in mind, with the exception of the Hull C. So I imagine that there's not the Hull C will work in its current iteration, and hopefully it won't be too busted. I would have to double check through my footage, not my footage, through like the next couple of days when I log into Evo, of whether or not the big 2,000 plus SCU box missions were sort of balanced weirdly versus like the 600s. I'd have to check those numbers, but I don't.
What do you mean by
think they
balanced
were...
weirdly? Like price?
Yeah, like I know for a fact that there was a 600 SCU mission that, or roughly 600 SCU, that gave 52,000 UEC, which was on the high end of delivery missions. I didn't check, well, or at least I probably did, but I just don't remember what the reward was for like a 2,000 SCU mission. But I imagine it was not insanely above that. So it's kind of they've got the Hull C in mind, I think, when they're doing the balancing for these missions, at least for the initial implementation.
Yeah, I've not done enough Hull C stuff yet to unfortunately add much else to that. So yeah, I'd like to do more testing, but they love to do all the good tests on nights that I play hockey. It's kind of annoying.
There's also right now Evo has very annoying hanger bugs, as you would imagine now that we finally have the instance hangers.
Yes. More questions or a caller?
Maybe one more and then callers.
Sounds good. All right. I also did this. Check it out.
Hey,
Emperor Pangu says, thoughts on portable tablets or devices that you could buy that gives you updated prices on commodities in each location that is under protection or green zone. Would that be a good way to battle against using websites as an aid? Nothing will stop websites being an aid.
Yep. I also don't think it's a bad thing.
Don't try to combat it. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a great thing.
I don't think it's a bad thing that people use things like SC trade tools What I will say is there's maybe another possible implementation and implication here that could be good, which everyone's favorite video game, Eve Online, uh, you are able to see prices and purchase items certain distances away. In Eve, it's based on your skills,
Yep.
but
But they also
the
have an
ability is
API.
there for you to do that.
They also have an API,
Yeah.
and you can go to a third-party website and see the prices.
Yeah, exactly. But I would like in Star Citizen. I mean, we kind of have it now with the commodity price alerts just really badly.
Yeah.
Of seeing prices at those other locations. I would like the ability to purchase from distance, but it may be a better. Like this is honestly probably just a hey, what is the game choice here? I'm not a game designer. I don't know what'll end up being the most fun.
Yeah.
For CIG to figure out. But yeah, don't battle against the websites. They're good. They breed communities. Like it's fine.
Yeah. It's actually somewhat healthy, and then it's less work the dev has to do. But I get it because like you shouldn't have to go to a website to enjoy a game.
Yeah, being like required to go to like an SE Trade Tools would be bad, but it's not a bad thing if it is a helpful tool for people to use it in some variety.
Yep. Would agree. All right, you want to go to our first caller then?
Yeah, let's do that. We got Darth Wookie.
All right, let's bring him in. There's Darth. Can you hear us, Darth?
Darth Wookie, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
Fantastic. What would you like to talk about today?
Well, I had a one thing to talk about. That's why I got in your green room, and then you guys started talking, so I have a whole list now. So you know, a couple quick hits. You know, the Armistice Zone towing. I think that's awesome. It'd be awesome. It'd just be great to be able to have missions right from the beginning. Just, you know, I don't have to, because I've never done a 0 to hero, but I've always wanted to. So that'd be great. Combat visors. It's not a big deal for me in any way. Never has been. Mainly because I got Darth Wookie. It's in the name. So I always have a combat visor.
Yeah, I also I wonder how many people weren't using essentially those exact same helmets the last like 7 years, you know?
Yeah, there's just a few sub helmets that don't have them. People got pissed off. Zach said that those they would be using something new, and
yeah.
What else? I think the biggest thing is I was taking notes here, and this is a byproduct of my personal life. Taking too many notes. But we talked a lot about StarSim and economy. That sounds like the biggest thing people talking about it, because that's what we're doing with cargo, right? We're essentially changing the way we do it.
Yep.
The way they talked about StarSim is like the most exciting down low thing they're talking about. Because I guess it was Mike. Mike said that. Like it's just, you know, they're not really talking about the thing you're doing. Like, hey, we're doing it. It's out there. Top Happy's alive. You know, that kind of stuff. But it's very exciting. But my only experience with like a player-driven economy is I was gonna say Eve because you guys talk about Eve all the time. What's the other darn
someone just bingo carded 10 Eve mentions in a podcast.
Yeah.
Well, I have a note here. Should I be playing Eve? I've never played it. Should I play Eve?
It's worth a try.
I think you'll realize how rudimentary Star Citizen is if you played Eve.
Well, that's not helping it. So that's what the real question. That's what got me in the green room is you're playing Once Human, and you know the question for the show is it becoming an MMO? And we're all talking about grinding. Well, there's a lot of grinding in Once Human. Like I still have no idea what the game's about. Like I'm
no one does.
5 hours in, and I have this thing in a backpack. I don't have any idea what it does.
Yeah.
But you know, is it a good game? It's free. It's for a free game.
For a free game, it's pretty impressive. I will say that. Yeah.
For 5 hours, I spent 5 hours, you know, pissing about. I have no idea what I'm doing, but it's free. And it seems to be the only thing that hit for monetization is a $10 battle pass. And I haven't, so for that, it's great. So the idea that we could be doing that and having $4,000 or less cargo missions, and that's the grind, we got to do 30 of them like we're doing whack-a-mole in WoW. Yeah, I think that's
Where are
that's
we
where I want to see
getting?
it.
Where are we getting that you have to do just cargo missions to make money?
Well, I
Where
mean,
I think
where
it's
is
just
this
because it's the
mentality
topic
coming
of the
from?
time, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we got.
Well, no, you
And I
have
think
lots of things that
Yeah.
aren't just running cargo missions. So I'm not sure where people are coming from with that.
well, I think you're like there's nothing else to do in a landing zone. I mean, I wasn't around. Apparently, there was. You could run around and do like courier missions back in the day. I wasn't on Star Citizen during that, but in when you start in WoW, that's my experience in like old MMOs. Like you are whacking rats for like a day, like a solid day of killing rats, picking up things, carrying them from point A to point B before you get
Exactly.
anywhere.
How is this that?
It's one small little aspect of it that's not that. It's
Like-
not
No,
even
it's
close.
Okay, but why are
it's
you
like what I was saying before,
grinding
right?
rats in WoW? It's because they're at your experience level. They're the most efficient way for you to gain experience to get to the next level.
Mhm.
That's not the case
Yeah,
in this game. Because there is no level,
it
and
is.
you're only doing it to make money. And if it's not the best thing to make money, why the fuck would you do it?
No, but and I think like the kind of weird thing about Star Citizen, and I maybe it's the copium, and I've just started. I'm on like year 4 of Star Citizenness. So
Don't worry, so am I. It's fine.
is that when you start sucking the hopium so much? I don't know. Like the like you know, there's a lot of. I think you, Mike, made a point. You know, why are we complaining about like it is a thing because yeah, it's a $4,000 cargo mission, but I can earn $500,000 an hour doing uh salvage, right?
Yes.
You're right. Like there's got to be a point when that is not the case. Like salvage is averaged out. And to a point, like maybe there's a point where you log in with your multi-tool and you start doing salvage missions, moving things away in the landing zone to earn money so you can get your fuel for your ship to get off the ground to do the you know the first mission. And that's
So,
part of the teaching
yeah.
you everything.
I mean, what you're just describing though, it's just the eternal fight that every game dev has with balance across different gameplay
Yeah.
loops. You have to make it so that the players don't get too mad. You have to make it in such a way that an equal amount of effort and an equal amount of risk equals the same reward.
Or similar, and then allow
Yeah,
the hybrid economy or whatever to make different decisions on what's more important, whatever. But yes.
exactly. Yeah. Because Star System right now, risk is unless you're like doing actual commodity trading, risk is non-existent.
No.
Right? Like you're not actually risking money. You're risking a small amount of time, which is a risk, but it's a very small amount of time.
And
when you're,
reputation,
like,
which so far
And
has not meant anything, and it doesn't seem like it's going to mean anything in 24.
I
either.
love Chrysler. It's a great
Yeah.
place.
So they just need to be careful when they're doing this stuff. But I do think that there is a large portion of the community that is overreacting to things like cargo missions because these are risk-free, essentially. Because once again, we were talking a little bit before, you won't encounter PvP 9 times out of 10 just because there's not enough people in the servers for you to actually come across people. So they are essentially risk-free. They are brain dead, in my opinion, in a good way. Because I want there to be, gameplay loops that I don't have to think too hard, and I can just, make a little bit of money while I'm doing something else.
Yep.
And so of course they're going to be lower reward. All that in mind as well, this entire conversation, these numbers are changing actively. So we just have to see what CRG end up with on the first live result. And if that sucks, like a lot of the economy changes have over the course of the last year and a half, then that'll be shitty. But I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, Mike, you're right. Like it is a valid point that discrepancy between the two is shitty. It's bullshit. But I lean towards on the Croncy side because they're gonna fix it, and it seems to be they know what we are, and we only go where the money is. So you're gonna do this little thing, and then you're gonna go back to salvage. They're probably testing salvage. And we'll see what happens when they switch the economy again. Maybe they'll make cargo missions huge again, like they did when the C2 came out and everyone it had drug runs for no reason. We were all millionaires.
Yeah.
And I had never hauled drugs until the C2 came out. My friend and I were trying to play with it, and we had a salvage mission, and all the C2s full of drugs. Now we were pirates. It was fantastic. But it seems to me that's how they get people doing things. So I guess on a larger point, I don't see how they don't wipe. Like, what if that's what they do? They keep moving money around. I think all their talk about wipes are great, but it sounds like they're going to wipe.
They will wipe.
Yeah.
They will 100% wipe. I will see multiple wipes before 1.0, for sure.
All right, because I don't take everyone's time. I have a couple questions for you guys. One is, Croncy, are you playing on a PvP server or a PvE server for Once Human? Because I haven't tried PvP yet.
PvE, but I don't intend on playing anymore. I played for 3 hours and I was done.
That was it. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm gonna I usually give a game 3 tries and then I'm out. So I got one more.
I struggled to give it 3 hours. I wanted to quit an hour and a half in. It was slow, and it's like there are obviously games where it's like, oh, this takes a while to get in. Cool, that's not a good thing. It shouldn't take a really long time to get like into the game, you know.
Well, then the final question back to you guys is, all right, so let's use that as an example. We already kind of have it with Star Citizen in a perfect world. Because you're right, we don't have those loops. If there was salvage we could do, if there was FPS we could do, if there was these things we could do, my home is Area 18. If I could run around and do drug runs or kill missions for Twitch while I'm running around the city, and have a story around it, that'd be great. Could Star Citizen have a free tier?
I think so, but I don't know. Well, because like,
no,
we already have microtransactions, and they're already pretty hefty. I reckon there could be a free tier, but it would have to be pretty neutered because it would be very abusable, right? Because you would just be able to go, all right, cool. Hey, Bill, you're the only person who's going to pay for the game. You're going to buy a hammerhead. And then the rest of the 7 of us are just going to jump in the hammerhead for free. And like,
yeah, that's immediately what I thought. And then you have a bunch of people taking up server costs, and that is not how it is now. Somebody paid minimum $40 to get in the game and has an account. That is not how it is.
No, I got my kids when we first started playing. Because as you do in Star Citizen, you want to try multiplayer with somebody. During a free fly, we made them have accounts, and we had a friend who has too much money and jumped in a hammerhead, and it was great.
Yeah, but, that's temporary.
That's cool for a free fly, right? That's a free trial more than anything.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I will say, because some people have mentioned in Twitch, one thing that I do agree with, which is Arena Commander being free. I think you can definitely do that. Just maybe add some more modes, add some more functionality, and then that can then drive people into the PU. So
yeah.
I think that's all I already had.
Okay, awesome.
I mean, you answered most of my questions. I think the consensus is I definitely should try Eve, which is, I guess I should try Eve. Maybe that's the next free game I'll try.
It is worth trying if you want to understand what SE could do potentially with a proper dynamic economy. I think that's the biggest thing. It helps people understand why an economy is so important for an MMO.
Yeah, or just like depth to everything's tier 0 in Star Citizen, everything's end tier in Eve. So you can kind of see what like there are ideas that could easily be applied to Star Citizen that would just make it better. And it doesn't have to be the toxicity of Eve of its players that people are asking for or whatever, or spreadsheets or whatever. And I've said this a million times. If you're making a spreadsheet for a game, it's probably because it's pretty damn good and you care a lot about it. So it's not that bad.
Or it's your job. Yeah, one of the two. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, we'll leave you there, Darth Wookie. Thank you very much for the call in. We appreciate it. Was this your first call in?
First time, long time.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
Nice, man.
Hell yeah. Awesome. Well, cheers for calling in.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
I've
catch you soon, man.
Mike for a little bit on Twitch, and you guys got me on here. So
badass. Badass. All right, bro.
All right. Catch you, mate.
Catch you soon.
Cheers.
Bye. All right. So that was Darth. And expendability is next.
Expendability, how you doing?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Good.
Not too shabby. What would you like to talk about today?
So I kind of put together a list from what we were talking about in the beginning of the
Mhm.
stream.
Everyone's
So
prepared.
yeah, armistice zones. The towing stuff, that's great. I'm glad they're
Mhm.
putting it. Um, has anyone thought about the hard armistice though? Even game rules ships, their shields are up, so I don't know how you would get in them or get the shields down or tow them anywhere.
Well, now you can
Well, so
push them.
yeah.
And it
Yeah.
just knows them out.
Yeah. It's stupid.
Plus,
but
it may just be like we said. The armistice zones have not always been. You can never shoot anything there, so it also may just allude to maybe we'll be able to do that now, right? Like we used to be able to use med guns in armistice zones. That went terribly, but the ability to allow that sort of stuff is possible for them. So
Yeah, and just a thought on that. But so real quick, I know it was a light topic, but the Jump Town nerf. I mean, it's an economy balance thing. I think the marketing team took a hit on that one because they promised more combat, more money, and it's less. That was kind of weird.
I
The
didn't
only
even
thought
see
I
that
had,
because I don't pay
me.
attention to that shit anymore. Did they really
yeah, it
say
literally
that? That's
said
so
literally
funny.
says more combat, more money.
so I just kind of started laughing when I said that. Saw
Yeah.
that. The only thought I have on that is I've always thought they should make it. Well, Ghost Hollow's been forgotten about it too, but
Mhm.
more like Ghost Hollow, where the longer you hold the location, the more money you make. So
Yep.
they have the box printers. So maybe you have 1 through 16 SU box printer. You put the 16 SU, takes 20 minutes to print it or something, and at the end it pops out. Whoever holds it at that 16 minutes gets the money, and that's that. So there's a fight, but there's also a reason to stick around.
Yeah, I
Um,
would like an exponentially increasing payout there to incentivize people to try to hold it for longer. I think it'd be cool.
and I think that would get rid of the monotony of moving micro SU boxes everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, if there's one bit of feedback that I never want to see a 1/8 SCU box again.
Yeah, I've been pushed through the roof of that room too many times,
Yeah.
standing on boxes. Cargo missions, I think they're a good thing to put in the game. Like you
Mhm.
said, there needs to be kind of that slower pace, just kind of watching Netflix and moving around the verse. But what I'd like to see them do is something where if you want to go a little more PvP / hardcore and make a little extra money, is a dynamic mission, kind of like the alert for Klesher. Like, hey, we know this cargo is leaving from this location and being delivered to that location. We received information. If you intercept it, there's a reward for you, kind of thing. And it would give you wouldn't have much time to prepare other than the time it would take them to load the ship, right? So
Yeah.
you would get the alert, and then you have about 15 minutes to get in position before that ship makes it to the next port if they're fast. So I think it would add a little bit of spice to it if you wanted it.
Mhm. Yeah. I think Elliot's mentioned a couple of like where can cargo missions go from here? It was mentioned some of them were mentioned on SCL, right? With like the different different cargo types, as well as taking them from other ships and stuff. I think that would be cool though if you have one that's like, hey, someone is moving it right now. This is your chance. Go get it, like PvP style. That'd be interesting because I don't think we've seen that anywhere except for the bounty system.
I think the closest thing is the unlawful salvage missions. Like, hey, go get this, and somebody will attack you in this time. Like, I think they could do the time stuff. I've been rolling my eyes with everything you suggested so far because you're doing the let me design the game for CIG thing. Like where I'm kind of sitting here going, it would be really sick if they gave us the ability to do that to each other. And that was and like sure,
Yeah.
sometimes an NPC would come by. So like have it be more sandboxy. Like one thing that I see the community do all the time, and yes, missions were the topic, so it's understandable. I'm not rolling my eyes because I think you're wrong. They're all good ideas. It's one of these things that are I don't think we need the mission team to design Star Citizen. Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah, and that was kind of my point with that, is that I want missions that players choose to do and is more organic. Not I I
where
like.
I don't
I
want
was saying I like.
missions. I don't want to go to my Moby
Right.
Glass and say this thing spawns and gameplay appears for me. I want there to be
Right.
it out there for you all the time, and you go and get it. You know what I mean?
And that,
Yeah.
So I'm
right,
not
and
rolling
that
my
was
eyes at
you want to
I'm rolling my eyes at the idea that we need missions to make this game fun. We don't.
like
Well, and that-
you want to be able to go into the game, figure out that someone is moving from X to Z or whatever, and
Yes.
then decide how you want to proceed.
Yes.
Yeah.
and that's actually on my notes next because I think you guys talked about it a little bit. Was
Mhm.
something in that. So we had the alerts back in the day that, and I don't even know if they still exist, where it would say like this place the commodities price went up over here.
Yeah. So exists.
Commodity price
okay.
alerts. Yeah.
If it actually worked, that would be a way for people to figure out where cargo is moving, right? Because
Yeah.
the cargo haulers want to go over there, and
Mhm.
so I think that would be a. But again, that requires there to be an economy and it work.
Which, hey, to be fair, like that's a big part of what these missions are meant to do. That was a big part of this initiative, right? So it's all like those puzzle pieces are kind of coming together for that stuff to exist, and that's more what I'm talking about. Is like, yeah, they're doing all this. They're doing all this stuff that is maybe not going to be the best payouts or not the most meta thing to do, but then it's going to open up the doors for that kind of stuff later because it essentially forced somebody to make a miniature static economy. Like we saw the screen, not every commodity possible was listed there or anything, but some were, and they made sense. Cool. We have a good jumping off point from, and that makes me super happy. So yeah.
Agreed. Next thing that you were mentioning that my heart sank when you said that there was the cap on the cargo in their personal hangars.
Yeah.
But only because like I there should be a cap. You shouldn't be able to infinite cargo, and just hoard.
It could get messy. If you could go in, it could get very messy.
Exactly. So did they add a way to destroy items? Because my landing zone right now at cities is almost full. So when they wipe and it goes into my personal hangar, I don't even know if I'll have room. So what do? Just like spawn into my thing and throw it into the magical hole of the hangar? Or?
Yep.
There's no, I was gonna say there's no intended way to destroy everything. But I do wonder if there's a way to like just put everything up on the cargo and then leave.
I sold.
I don't know.
I like at the beginning of a wipe, I sell all the stupid shit that I don't want, but it's literally 3,000 clicks. It's like one of the worst experiences ever. So yeah, there's no recycle.
We got too much stuff.
Like this is the thing where like, God, man, Jared mentions no wipes, and there's like a billion things that need to happen that like need a wipe to like know what the impact it has on the game.
Yeah.
Before you go live for the first time. So like it has to be what Croncy said about wipes.
I think I mean, I'll just leave it at that. I agree. I think the wipes need to happen. Ship grind.
Eventually
they need to stop, and I don't think anyone disagrees necessarily with that. But yeah,
1.0
exactly.
Right. Once you get to a stable game, you need a stable game. But right now, like when you have a glitch that you can make billions, like it's like what's the point of logging in?
Yeah.
Ship grind, I don't think that exists. I mean, it does for some people, but in reality, I don't know.
I think it's for more players than you might think.
Yeah, I don't think you get to have this just based on what you said about your inventory. I'm not sure if you get to say ship grind is whatever because
what do you mean it doesn't exist? Everyone's got 4 javelins.
I was going to say for me, right?
Exactly.
The ship grind doesn't exist for me.
Exactly. I do the same thing where you make it seem like you're speaking for everybody, but you're actually speaking for yourself, right?
Yeah,
I do it all the time. I catch myself with
I'm
it.
Speaking for myself.
There you go.
But what does exist is the reputation grind, and as an example, I went through and did just ground out all the Vaughn missions to the top, and it doesn't take that long, but I did it, and now people are like, hey, you have top level Vaughn missions, you have top level bunker missions, like let's group up so you can share those.
Yep.
It is a sense of accomplishment. I think grinds need to exist. It is kind of neat being that person that has those. I wish it was a little more, but we'll get there.
We will.
So
I
agree.
just have to prioritize it. It was the thing I was most excited about from CitizenCon that has not happened or so.
No.
That was like, it was in every single panel, and it has been in none of the content that has been delivered so far. So if I was to say one of my biggest disappointments from CitCon would be that. So far, it's only 6 months in. Or 10.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah, a little bit more.
Yeah, ship balancing. You're right. There's no reason not to use a large ship right now. I'm hoping one day it's cost of operation, the ability to operate, efficiently, places you can go, stealth versus being a big meaty target, stuff like that. But
I even in my question said, and obviously bigger ships will cost more to run. So like, please ignore that part of the statement. Like, that is very obvious. You've spoken about it for years.
Yeah.
But it's not enough. So, and they still said that part, and they still just, that was very disappointing, that question. Yeah.
The load times, they're obviously going to get to balancing that stuff. It shouldn't be incredibly longer than it takes to hand load, but it should be enough to where it's like, if I hand load, I get out of here faster versus, so it's not.
It needs to eat into your margins some way, more than just time. I think more than just a little bit of time.
Enough to make you debate manually loading.
Yeah,
right. Either take it off of the, like, hey, we'll load your cargo for you if you design the game, as you said, but just take money, cost money to load it.
Because I only say this because actual Star Citizen developers said that it is the worst way to give feedback. So that's the only reason I'm bringing that up to you. Okay, is they are like, this isn't helpful. So the best way to be helpful is to just be like, yeah, I understand, I agree, this is a good idea, but I want to be able to choose between, like, more that way instead of giving them the actual numbers. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I bring that stuff up. We don't need to do that for them. They're capable of doing it. They need to know, like, hey, the numbers you've chosen don't make me want to use this option or whatever, right? And then they're like, oh, okay, cool.
Okay, and then unloading. I heard a rumor there's no time to unload. It's just you just unload.
Don't know the answer to that one. I'd have to look.
We'll log in tomorrow and we'll let you know.
Yeah, I mean, take a look at it.
I think most people assumed that loading would be the same as unloading, and apparently it's not. That's how I did my testing. I was like, well, unloading will be exactly the same as loading, so let me just do loading. Apparently unloading is completely different. So
take a look at it. I was told that there's no unload time, so you can auto unload.
Wait,
it costs money, but there's no time to auto unload.
That's interesting. I didn't see that, just so you know. I actually saw like a spreadsheet of somebody saying that the unload time was the exact same time as the load time. So yeah, there might be some disparity there.
It could also just literally be a bug with the amount that are in the Evocati. So
True that. And my last little thing to touch on was, I really want. We were talking about the economy, purchasing from distances. I really do want there to be a marketplace.
Yes.
It's
a must.
What is it?
Corp exists for a reason, and players need to go there, right?
There should be a computer you could go to and see the items at a station or Microtech from ArcCorp and be like, hey, I want to purchase this over here, and then. And I've heard them say it, but it generates a cargo mission to bring it to wherever you're at or whatever.
Yeah. Just to be clear, like from maybe you haven't backed that long, like the idea. This was a Chris Roberts thing. Who knows if this is the plan anymore or whatever? But the idea, like the monitored, the comm arrays and everything like that, they do all that. So they're sharing all that information around, and then that information can't go through a jump point. So it is traveled through a jump point with a data runner like a Herald. So that's how that information gets passed between system and system. So there's some gameplay design there, But when you're within a given system, you should be able to know what the prices are in that system. If you're not in that system, they seem to want to do something in relation to that. How you get that data, I don't know. But that was their intended design. So, like, what you're thinking is pretty much on par with what they want to do. But will it happen that way when they actually go to do it? I don't know what they want to do. But I mean, we're in agreement. We need that, right? You can't make decisions without information.
I do think that the dual cargo hangars where people can, call their stuff in your hangar, that will help a lot with trading.
Yep.
Because I've done plenty of transfers in space where you're like throwing rail guns out the back of your ship to another ship to sell it, essentially. Where now
you want me to burst your bubble?
Well, now
you can't have two ships in a hangar at the same time if they're over the pad.
But can you call?
You can't.
Can you?
You can't call two ships at the same time, or like
call two ships.
No, keep going. I can keep going with this. If you bring a caterpillar, like there's a big cargo haul, a couple hundred SCU. We tried to do it. Caterpillar, bring it up, push it to the side. Now it's floating above the pad. Call another caterpillar. First one instantly disappears. Cool. You open your hangar door.
Yep.
You open your hangar door. Somebody else comes in. No matter if they're in your party or not. Guess what?
Not trespassing. The other one.
Yep. Trespassing.
Yeah.
So
well, hopefully not intentional.
Yeah. So bugs, something like that. They got to figure out a way to because you're 100% right. They got to figure out a way. So what you do in space, where you're bouncing stuff between each other, can be done within your personal hangars. Because now, you see those two freight elevators on either side, and you're like, yo, this is going to be sick. And then you go try to do it, and you're like, oh, fucking Star Citizen again.
That's the story of Star Citizen.
Yep.
Well, with it being there, I'm just going to go with it's going to happen. It's got to happen. So
I think it's intended, yeah.
So with that, that's all I got, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. Sorry to burst your bubble, so it probably won't happen in 324, but we got to push him, and tell him priority alert. We need this because it's think about this.
I wouldn't play Star Citizen if I wasn't ready to have my my bubble burst
blown away. Yeah.
I'll give one example before you go, because we got to go to call. I mean, we're coming up on 2 hours, so at some point we're gonna have to stop. The call up cargo, try to send it back down. It doesn't go down. So, like for the missions, so even if you were to call up a ship, fill it with what is going to one place, send it out, call up another ship, there's some still problems there. So lots of bugs getting in the way of knowing what's intended versus what's not. So we'll see. Yeah. This needs to go wave 1 so everybody can see it. I can't deal with this anymore. The trying to explain stuff to people that isn't real. But
at the same time, oh god, I hope this doesn't go to wave 1 yet.
I can't wait to get in there and break it, but I'm sure
exactly. Yeah, I'm nervous. I'm scared. But all right, thank you, Expendability.
Yeah, cheers for the call.
Yeah, man.
All right,
have a good one, mate.
I feel bad whenever people are designing the game. It's just better to give feedback. They've said it a million times, so I feel bad jumping on them, but I gotta. All right, Certified Gumbo's next, and we'll go King Jasper and everybody else in the queue. We're not going to be able to make it to you. There's no way. The show will be 12 hours long.
I'm good. How are y'all doing?
Great.
Fantastic. What would you like to talk about today?
All right, so 2 things, missions and just overall economy. I'll start with missions. And that is, I like what they said on SEL about missions just being pretty much the intro into the sandbox. Like, I like that mindset as far as how they're approaching making missions, because I think that makes sense. Like, get people used to the gameplay and the nuances through the missions, and then allow them to go venture into the sandbox if they want something that's a little bit more dynamic
Mm-hmm.
and in
Yeah.
depth.
Yeah, super
Like
smart.
that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
That being said, dynamic events in the economy, like that would help make the dynamic events. The sandbox makes the dynamic events make sense. Like because right now they don't
Yeah,
make any
agreed.
sense to me. Like, especially
Agreed.
like Jumptown makes absolutely no sense. Like I understand like the basic concept of how the event came to be,
Mhm.
but from a gameplay perspective, like it's like why does this even happen? Because there's no underworld economy to speak of. So I don't understand the logic of how that would happen organically. But
That
like
mission is not telling the story. Is
yeah,
what you're
like
saying? Yeah.
the gameplay is cool because it's
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 PvP.
it's PvP, so it's dynamic in that sense. But why does any of this happen the way it happens makes absolutely no sense. It's like an underworld economy. Like as a matter of fact, I'll start with the underworld economy.
Mhm.
For the sandbox. Like that's one thing that they haven't really touched on that I'm hoping we get some sort of clarity on and how they're going to bring that to life
Mm.
because it's a very
Yeah.
important aspect of the economy. Like you can't just focus on the legal side. You also have to have that underworld aspect.
Mhm.
And that's probably more nuanced than the legal side.
Yeah.
For sure.
Um,
Yeah.
like I guess the only sort of stuff that they've really touched on, even regards to that with underworld economy, is just like merits in prison.
Yeah,
Um,
and that was bad.
that's pretty
I'm
much
sorry.
it.
The people that do that, that was one of the cooler things I've seen because that's that sandboxy
Mm,
shit. People farm merits and
yeah.
then sell it to other people so they can get out of prison fast. I think that shit's so cool. So
Yeah.
yes, it's
Yeah,
more nuanced
that
and
stuff
has to
is
be.
yeah, because there's a discretionary side of it that we lack currently in the game that will make a lot of things well it could make a lot of things interesting, especially like
Mhm.
you were talking earlier about using smaller ships for certain things. And like yeah, there should be legal missions and things that allow us to use smaller ships, but also
Yep.
from an underworld perspective, like what depending on how discreet you need to be in certain locations, like that could be a very interesting gameplay decision. I'm not saying I'm not trying to game design here, but like I think
I
about
don't want to
stuff
make
like
people
that.
be scared to have ideas. I need to stop doing that.
No, it's good. I'm it's a valid point because it's like yeah, we're not designing the game, but it's fun to have these like conversations and
Yeah.
just think about like because for an MMO for me, like the economy is the most important aspect of it. Because if the economy
Yes.
sucks, then that
1000%.
eliminates the why to play, and if there's no why to play, then I'm not playing. Like
Yeah.
this game
Yeah.
doesn't work for me without an economy. Uh, all of the
Yep.
other gameplay aspects are cool. That's fantastic. But if the economy doesn't work, like it's going to have a short lifespan for me.
Yeah.
Yep.
I feel like there's two like big things in any really any sandbox game, which is you either need there to be an insane amount of creativity or there needs to be a really good economy. Or both,
Yeah.
preferably. But
Yeah.
Preferably.
like Minecraft doesn't have an economy, but what it does have is the most insane creativity of any game at the time, right? Eve has no creativity, but it has one of the best economies of any video game of all time. Both amazing sandboxes. And so yeah, it's such a core part of what they are trying to make the game, of what they talk about when they're talking about the game, how things will actually interact. So yeah, it needs to be good. It needs to do something.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, for your example, like Minecraft, like the
Mhm.
why you play is the creativity. Like the
Yep.
creativity is what like is that's what creates the gameplay. That is the gameplay. It's
Yep.
I have to be creative with my solutions on how I approach this. Eve is that on the economic side. Like
Mhm.
that's why are we doing this?
Yep.
It's because okay, they need this ore here. This they are refining this material at this location because it needs to go into ABC product and that needs
Mhm.
to be distributed to XYZ location. Like
Yep.
that's we're clearly I'm seeing that we're headed to that um
In a much more simplistic
that
way, but
direction.
Yes, and thank
And
God a
and
much more
they
simplistic way. I think
and they're
Eve's
talking about it
crazy.
more too.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the more they talk about it, the more it makes sense. Like I've watched the Tony Z talks,
Mhm.
and but the stuff that they're talking about now, like it's okay. It's far more tangible. So I'm like, okay, they're a lot closer.
Yeah.
To it than when he was doing his presentations on the
Absolutely.
sim. But it's also that aspect of the underworld side that doesn't get talked about a lot
Mhm.
yet, and I hope it's being co-developed or at least being considered as they're going about these economic changes, because that is a very important aspect of the game that they have to get right, because it is also probably one of the more attractive sides of the game. Like that underworld aspect is going to attract a lot of players.
Roberts
That
himself even says like he wants to be a space pirate.
yeah, so like
Yeah, there's no illusion that is supposed to be a big I don't know, like sign for
and
people to play or whatever.
that getting fleshed out also helps a lot with the PvE people who want to like focus more on PvE, because if you have a underworld, then all of the people who prefer PvP gameplay are probably going to gravitate towards that, because it's not just illegal stuff. It's also stuff that's in that gray area. Like Hurston doesn't sell guns, so smuggling guns into Hurston is underworld gameplay, but that's not you can sell guns in Crusader all day long, but like Hurston is different.
Yeah.
Like that gray area stuff, that's where all those nuances come in that make it interesting for like a lot more players, but it also has a lot of risk involved with it as well, because the rules are different. But yeah, that's pretty much my two things that I really wanted to talk about. Like it's the economy is so important to me, like for my own interest in playing this game.
No, I'm glad you
It's also
bring.
like
I'm glad you bring up the unlawful side too, because no unlawful missions on cargo side right now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of weird stuff going on at the drug labs that were reported as bugs, so we'll see. And yeah, so for now, I think they're just trying to figure stuff out, and they haven't gotten there yet. And there's a billion things they have to do, but yeah, it's going to be a big part. It has to be a big part.
I would hate. Well, I'm pretty sure that this is the case, but like it kind of sucks that we don't have an underworld economy, and we're about to get Pyro at some point within the next 12
What you
months.
got to hope is that is the underworld economy, and that we don't see it, and they don't want to talk about it yet because we're not there yet. We're not delivering it yet. But when we do, we'll talk more about it. Cross your fingers for that. I feel the same fear you do. And I believe that it's probably what you're thinking, that they haven't got there yet. And that's scary, but at the same time.
Yeah, because I mean, I
have
did
that
participate
hopium
in the
still,
play
right?
test. Yeah, I did get to experience Pyro, but like that was very limited, and it wasn't very from that perspective. It wasn't.
No.
It wasn't there.
Wasn't strong. Not yet.
Wasn't motivation.
No.
Yeah, it was like.
But
oh,
now that we're
okay.
seeing like this goes to here, that goes to there, you have to assume that they have a spreadsheet similar to
that. It comes through. Yeah.
That is happening there, and then also coming through.
Yeah, I loved that logistical supply line that they created, or at least talked about, because it was like, all right, they're going in the right direction. Let me just sit back and see what happens, because that's what I've been wanting to see, and we finally got a chance to see it. How close that is to being a reality, I'm still not sure on, but at least we saw like visual, tangible evidence that that's the direction they're going in, and I feel good about that. Just let's do it on the underworld stuff too.
Yeah, exactly, and I think they will.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Gumbo, we'll let you go, dude.
All right.
Cheers for hopping in.
Yeah.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Until next time.
Good perspective on today, I'd say. All right, bro. Catch you up.
Catch you, man.
All right, so that was Gumbo, and before we go to Gumbo, we're going to grab another.
You mean Jasper?
What?
before we go to Jasper.
Oh, before we go to Jasper, before we go to
Yep.
another caller is what I actually wanted to
Yep.
say. We're going to go to our last text question from the ATC Discord, exclamation point podcast on Twitch, and you can get to the Discord in YouTube in the description. This is from Sir Mateus saying, we kind of touched on this, but I think we can add a little bit more to it. Given today you could buy and sell from across the globe, how will they address commodity trading to keep the in-person fidelity without completely ignoring current world tech? Remote purchasing in system only, maybe. So I think we all want a marketplace. Croncy, do we want a marketplace per system? Do we want a marketplace across the entire game that you can only see per system, or in a given range like Eve? What do you think we should see?
So there's a couple of things I would love to see just from the sort of like way that you would purchase things. I would like to be able to purchase anything within a system, and it go to like assuming I'm friendly with those locations.
And that item is available in that system, obviously, right?
Yes.
Is that what you mean? Okay.
Yeah. I would like to be able to purchase those things within that system, and not further. So like if I'm in Stanton, I don't want to be sitting in RCorp being able to purchase something from Pyro. I think they've got some cool ways to make it so that, you can have multiple different hubs with different prices. More dynamic economy stuff happens because of that, blah, blah, blah. So I'd like to see it like that.
How much friction do you want to be involved in that? If I'm at Crusader and I purchase something at Hurston, do I need to go and get it at Hurston, or will it be delivered to me? How will it be delivered to me? Does it have to be delivered by a player? Will it eventually get delivered over time by an NPC? If that's the case, could you theoretically buy something from Pyro and apply the same logic to that? What are you thinking there?
So I would still want it baseline to be only per system. However, if I'm sitting at RCorp and I purchase something from Hurston, I would like to have the option to start a delivery contract.
Yes.
And have it be delivered, whether by a player or an NPC.
Yep.
In some variation. The delivery contract specifically, I would also like to be able to do from system to system. I just don't want to be able to purchase something multiple systems away. I want there to be almost a little bit of mystery about what something might cost at a certain location, that sort of thing, I think would be cool. And then you mentioned like marketplace. Lore-wise, there's already like a reason to have it in some specific areas. RCorp's one of the biggest ones. Terra, like the main, I think it's Terra 2, whatever the main Terra planet is another one that's supposed to be a big trading hub. And then you can just do the marketplaces and like the player marketplaces in those locations. You don't necessarily have to have them literally everywhere because players will do it themselves. Pyro, you will do it yourself. You'll say, I want to trade this with you. But hey, we're doing it in Pyro, so like, because I've got crime stats, so you're going to be risking your stuff if you want to come and do that. That stuff will come about. But I want there to still be some locations where it's like, no, this is just very easy, very quick, very structured.
Yeah, I definitely, when it comes to looking at prices, placing orders, setting up orders, things like that. I want that to be able to be done on the go. I do not want to have to be at that place. Yeah. That being said, I am actually okay with what they've done with our hangar space, our item bank thing. Like going to that actual location, I'm okay with that, right?
Yeah.
That's different. But to be able to look at things, man, being able to open a marketplace and look at what's going on around you is so nice to have. It's a way to start planning what you're going to do. Like, let's add crafting to this conversation as well, right? Well, the price of that is much lower than it takes me, the cost for me to make it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go do that
to make it and undercut that person and make some money.
I'm going to go do that now. So like that's why I want that ability. But I also love, I think part of the problem here is that Pyro's the next system. Terra is a system that is connected to Stanton. They are very UE friendly systems, let's say.
Yes.
Stanton not as much, but there probably should be able to be communication between those systems more than a Pyro would be, right? Like Pyro should be completely cut off from us as far as communication goes, and it's got to be data run stuff. Somebody in chat, I think, kind of mentions a cool thing that you could send data through the jump point to actually send contracts to buy things.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Yep.
But at the same time, yeah, it would just put up a sell contract, but if nothing's available there, no one's going to fill it or whatever. But yeah, that would be cool. Pay somebody to set up a contract for you somewhere else. That's a little insane. But at
contract
the same time,
runners.
Yeah,
new gameplay loop.
I mean, hey, I don't know. Maybe that would be cool. So yeah, I guess that's fine. But at the same time, that is also kind of crazy.
Hey, we're designing the game.
That's why I need to stop, because I did the same thing when talking about the ships earlier.
Sure.
You gotta give examples from other games that are good too in that.
Yep.
And then you're designing the game when you say that. So anytime I do that, guys, yell at me. I can't tell people to stop theory crafting because we have nothing. That's all we have. So I need to chill out with that. It's not my fault the CIG devs took 12 years to do anything and all we have is theory crafting. But when we get into specific numbers, that's when I'll jump on people.
Yep.
That's when I'll jump in. Specific numbers are up to the devs.
Yep. I do just want to really quickly before we get on to the next caller, just because I remembered it, and if I don't remember now,
there's something I want to bring up as well.
In Evo, there was new commodities.
Yes, you talk about that for a minute. I have to pee. You talk about Evo new commodities. I'm going to talk about Evo, something that really need to happen that changes everything that I was upset about, and then we'll go to the next caller, all right? But I drink two of these things, and that's not good. They're 800 milliliters. That's a lot, right? So I just end up having to pee. So I'm sorry. Every podcast I have to pee.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So there's a bunch of new commodities in the. I don't know if they are purchasable, but they are definitely in the cargo missions. There was silicon, there was compressed ice, there was hydrogen fuel and quantanium fuel, but as like SCU, like actual SCU boxes. There's a couple of other ones as well, but hell yeah, sweet. It's interesting. I just really hope for that it is in the game with the intention of them being part of the greater economy and the greater crafting, rather than just being extra things. The compressed ice specifically was one that we saw, I think in data mining when we had the Pyro playtest.
Yes.
But it wasn't compressed ice; it was the other type of ice. So maybe it's a little sneak peek in some ice mining. Tin was one of the other ones. That's right. Yeah.
Ammunition.
Yes, ammunition. Yeah.
Burst in the bubble a tiny bit, but this is clearly just an Evo thing. I grabbed an ice mission, and it gave me quartz. Somebody else grabbed tin, and it gave them corundum. Because in the mission description, they're there, but the commodities aren't in. So there weren't like cool, unique boxes.
Yeah.
Yet. That's an Evo thing. Yeah. Those are things that are the last things to come. Probably is like, all right, let me add the new boxes. Like
it's essentially an asset flip.
Exactly. We saw cool boxes on ISC for the Zeta Prolinide.
Yep.
Where are those in the game, right? Like we don't see them right now. So it's not really a bubble burster. I think they're going to be there. But given that those were mostly Pyro things, those are probably coming in from Pyro,
Yep.
So, like, technically in the loop that they're creating. The thing that I wanted to share, inventory problems rejoice. You can now open containers, armor, and backpack in the freight elevators and item banks, which means you can fill them with things, which means
sort them.
You can put stuff in your ships easier and all that stuff. Thank God.
Hell yeah.
So,
huge.
It's like, and I've seen people get mad at me about like sharing the issues with Evo. That will obviously change if you don't yell and give the feedback. And now people are able to give the feedback and yell everywhere and not just in
Yep.
one specific place where like 2 people collect that feedback and give it to the wider company, shit's getting fixed a lot faster now. So maybe
Yep.
shut up and allow people to just give feedback how they want. And it sucks that Evo isn't open. It absolutely should be. There's no reason to hide it the way they're doing things now, but complaining about that's insane. So,
Yeah.
yes. Next caller.
Yeah, let's go to our last caller for the day, which is going to be King Jasper. King Jasper, how you doing?
Your
Oh,
Grace.
wow. Oh, a quick note on the previous text comment that came up.
Mhm.
I have serious criticisms over, I guess, the devs' lack of understanding of like industrial design and like industrial concepts, because in a large number of spaces, they create and design things that, in our current just conventional world, we've kind of solved to some degree or another.
Yes, but in our conventional world, there are not fucking jump points.
And we're not allowed to shoot each other with no consequences. It's not a video game. Like people bring it up all the time with like a bunch of different things, and like
Yeah.
if we were playing real life world but future, why would everyone not just be using intercontinental ballistic missiles and drones and stuff like that? It's because it's not fun.
Oh no, it's more the
you
stuff like the fact that tractor beams are ocean nightmares, and the fact that the way all the salvage ships like push out boxes is like supremely inefficient.
I don't think that matters.
No, it doesn't. Not
I
really.
don't think it matters.
Not particularly.
Yeah.
Not the thing I was here to talk about though. The thing I was here to talk about is the fact that, well, 2 things. One of them
Mhm.
is the best event in Star Citizen that's it's currently ever had.
Mhm.
Isn't the event they intended for. It's called Steal the Idris.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was pretty darn good. A lot of people enjoyed that. I think that was like some of the more.
We'll still enjoy that.
Yeah.
And Xenothreat was ambiently the exact same event, and it was the only fun part of the event for me personally.
I like moving the boxes. Don't hate on moving.
Yeah,
the
moving the boxes is fun.
Yeah.
But obviously, it's a personal thing. So.
Personal thing. The second thing I want to bring up is with all this, new kind of moving, I guess changes to the way that we're moving cargo around.
Mhm.
It feels to me like this is going to kill places like your SCD-1s and your drug running locations, places where it's already kind of high risk to hop out of your ship, run to a cell terminal, buy stuff, run back to your ship, hope that you didn't get ganked in that period of time, and then fly off. That's already kind of sketchy and dangerous, even with an armistice zone involved.
Yeah, it just means, for sure. It just means for those locations
It feels like it's a death sentence, though.
Well, yeah, they just need to balance it to make it worth it.
What about it? What about what they're doing makes it worse?
If you wanted to load 32 SCU, right, and it just 32 SCU flat, right, 16 seconds you're waiting there, right, that could be done in the time that it takes you to run there and back. If you wanted to load any kind of significant quantity and it took, even slightly longer than it does now per SCU, you're
okay,
almost
you're saying
guaranteed
the actual
to get
manually
shot.
loading.
And manually loading would be the same. And you'd have an additional risk that some bozo is going to come along and go, "Oh, sweet! I'll just jump onto your ship and wait for you to leave."
You sound like a solo player.
No, I'm a group player. I'm the guy who sits at those places and then says to my group, "Hey, I got a guy here. I'm going to go jump on his ship."
Okay.
But my point is, those
like
players
you said, that people won't do that as much.
Oh yeah, no, the people. Yeah. I think that the people who I am victimizing will cease to exist the moment this happens.
Yeah, so
if that's more
opportunity
for this. Yeah, but how do you balance your doors having to be open in an open area that people can walk on your ship? I think that's the point that you're bringing up. Am I?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I'm understanding. At first, I'm like,
Sure.
I'm confused what you were getting at, but now I'm getting it. The open
There isn't. Yeah.
freight elevator and the open hangars or the pads outside are kind of ridiculous when you think about it. Like what he's saying is, why would anybody take the risk of going out there? People will, but
Yeah.
maybe
are
that's
lazy.
what Croncy means by you got to balance it. Is you got to make it worth the risk. But
Yeah,
I see it. It's the thing that I've always been a little bit like questioning. Like, I want to see our pads just be hangars. So when you're there, you request landing. Where I want piracy to happen is traveling between those locations, not at the locations.
sure.
That's how I've always wanted it to be, but it's just not how it is. And then without anti-personnel turrets that, somebody walks on your ship, you give them a crime stat, the game's going to kill them kind of thing. None of that stuff exists right now. So I don't know. For me personally, I would love to go to an SCD-1, request landing, go into the hangar. It is an instance hangar. I load my ship. I get out. Then I get shot. I'm not saying I don't want to get shot at. I want to get shot at.
Yeah.
I don't want to get shot at when I'm loading my cargo. I think that's pretty dumb for the time being.
That's
Yeah,
fair.
which means they need to refactor every single current landing point to have internal hangars.
Which, I mean,
They could do.
they
Let's
just
be
gave more
real.
freight elevators.
Have you ever clipped through an internal hangar? There's nothing below him. It's just place the fucking thing there. I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Oh no, I'm very familiar. I've been
We
inside
all
the
are.
internals of stations.
Yeah.
We all have been. There's not much
One of my
there.
favorite. I just have to mention one of my favorite bugs right now. You go to an orbital station, you hop out. The elevator's not there. You jump through the elevator. You have infinite gravity, and you just keep falling through space.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. It's not even like infinite gravity. It's like you're hyper being pulled.
Yeah.
Like into a black hole.
Yeah.
It does it
Anyway.
to ships too. Yeah, it's ridiculous. But go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so for me, I just see that as being like, there are obviously solutions for it, but it means changing the kind of scale and scope of each of these locations, making them even like their own little mini distro center or something, but they have to be something a little bit bigger than they are currently. These kind of rinky-dink kind of like, landing pad with a couple of little, ports and, kind of
what if it was just-
prefabs placed on them.
What if it was just a few bits of cargo? What if it was like 24 SCU and you're getting 8 SCU boxes and it's just 3 boxes, boom, 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 and I'm out.
If
That
that's
is the thing. You're not
profitable,
going to be picking up much, right? Like they've talked about that.
If it's a mission,
I mean,
it's
right now, if
profitable.
you go to like a Brios, say, or no, not a Brios, like a Rappel, you're picking up, a full C2 load of RMC.
Oh my
Yeah,
god!
no, that's what I'm saying.
Are we
They've
bringing
mentioned
up
that-
completely fucking broken economy stuff as the
Oh,
way
yeah.
this? You know what I mean? Like
Fair.
that's gotta
they've mentioned
change.
you won't be grabbing much cargo from these locations anymore.
Yeah.
Whether
Okay,
that
no.
happens or not is different.
By
but
the way, yeah, Pickersfield has like no SCU of cargo added anymore.
yeah.
So
So it's possible it might not end up being an issue at all, but with the
Are
way that things
outposts
are being
supposed to
actively
be-
balancing, it certainly could.
are outposts supposed to be filling C2s of cargo?
No.
Okay. So I don't know what the answer is, but I know it doesn't make sense for little outposts to be running full-scale logistics operations like they're Amazon.
I know you talked about how you'd like the idea that you're able to, load in safety. There's a dream in my head where you can do some kind of raid mission at a distro center and kill the quote-unquote armistice zone there, and it just turns into a free fire.
Yeah, you're trying to kill this game, aren't you? You're trying to get
Could you
everybody to
imagine the
quit.
panic if you were sat there loading up your, full C2 worth of gold,
Yeah, it'd
and
be
then you
hilarious.
just see this little blinking light of, oh, the armistice zone's gone. Time to
Yeah.
panic.
It'd be absolutely hilarious the first
Yep.
2 times you did it, and then nobody would be playing anymore, and you'd be like, man, I can't believe nobody plays this game. That's crazy.
It's fine. It'll just happen when we get our homesteads and we go to a like lawless place.
Yeah.
Why have my planetary shields turned off? What's going on here?
Like, do you remember the conversation on Spectrum and Reddit about the pyro stations where people were shooting at each other inside the hangars, inside the like actual
Inside the
spawn?
lobbies, yeah.
Yeah, like it's just there's some restrictions that just have to exist because people
Yeah.
are like you, King Jasper. People are like you.
I am the nightmare of the casual trader.
Yeah, and it's totally fine to be like you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no.
But we
You know,
have to.
I exist so that the lawful players can have something to do, and I exist so that the
Yeah.
traders have something to feel that they're risking and having some excitement
Yes,
about.
you have to have risk in this stuff. Like, but what you can't have is
Unfair risk.
or just fair and unfair is still in this game could be based off of your skill, but I don't know, like there's just got to be things to block you from
There's
just
got to be limitations.
yeah, the limitations is a good word to the amount of risk that there can be. You can't have risk 24/7 365 because you want this game to be crazy. Like even in Rust, you can be inside your base for a little while and feel safe when your door closes. You know what I mean?
Mike, you don't understand. I want this to be full loot before I log in.
Exactly. Like that's what it sounds like King wants. But it's like I want there to be tons of risk. I want to be there's nothing more I want than my heart to pound while playing a video game. Nothing more I want out of a game than that. But
The last thing I want to bring up is kind of the dichotomy between kind of a small scale achievable dream I have and then some of my peers and their kind of more large scale dream that I feel the game designers might not have in their vision. I have a little dream. I'm going to get my Zeus. Persistence is going to work, and you'll be able to just log in and out, and your ship, and you will stay there.
This is definitely a dream. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But no, this is supposed to be achievable. This is what they envision their new logout system to be, right?
Of course.
And I can just, use it as a little camper van, just find myself a little patch with maybe a river or something, just live out there for a bit,
Yes.
That'd be nice.
I want my ship to be my home. I don't want my home hangar to be my home. Yep. I don't want an apartment to be my home. I want my ship to be my home. Yes, I'm with you, brother.
Look at all sorts of space adventures like, your Fireflies and whatnot. The ship is the home.
Exactly. That's why I love the mole. The mole feels like a home for people who are miners. Like we live on there. This is what we do.
Yeah, like we're going to go off and do like a 2-month stint in the mole with supplies and stuff. Yeah,
exactly.
No, that's valid. The big dream that, other people I play with have is, they look at the base building and they say, I want to have that Rust style raiding experience.
Yeah.
They want to have, they want to be sitting at the door ready to, bust in. They want to be sneaking into the airlocks, finding ways in, hacking and whatnot. They've talked this big game about, all these things, but whoever the people who are behind this, like, not the base building side, but the combative, like the red team side of the base building component, haven't heard anything about what they're doing or if they exist.
We haven't heard anything about base building because they started getting concepted 6 months ago.
Yeah, you got a PowerPoint, and they told you that there was going to be unlawful systems, that there is no security. That's all we got, and that's enough for me as far as that side. I am going to be able to go there and have carnage. Will they make anything worth stealing? We'll see.
Yeah.
But hope.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
That's all we have.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's all I had for it. Thanks for having me, and ta-ta.
Yeah, we appreciate it, King Jasper. Thanks for hopping in. Catch you around.
Yeah, I just know who I'm not going to cross. Do you guys?
He said casual traders. I'm a competitive trader.
Yeah, true. So he's not worried about me. Do you accept payment to leave to be left alone, or is it just carnage
Yeah, can
only?
we pay?
I try.
some
I
ransoms or
try.
something?
That is
long as you
that is
try,
the actual
it's-
other problem.
Yeah.
Is that almost every single trader will give you some response along the lines of, "I don't negotiate
go
with
fuck
terrorists.
yourself."
Blow me
Yeah.
up." And I go, "Why? Oh, I know why. Because you
There's
can
no
just come
risk.
back and do this again.
Yeah.
Because there's no risk. There's no like even the amount of money you spend isn't a risk."
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That'll have to happen. Otherwise,
Mhm.
we will not have a good game. And in my opinion.
Mm.
So we'll see.
Yep.
But all right, brother, we'll let you go. Thank you for your call. Thank you for your insights.
Yeah,
It's
thank you
nice
very
to
much.
see that perspective as well. We got two.
Yep.
We had two pirates today that are saying, "Where's my economy?" In some ways. So,
True.
yeah.
True.
Maybe we'll talk about
And
that stuff
it's
soon.
important.
Yeah, but it's late. We did a long one
It
today.
is. It is. Because we finally were able to get everyone's opinions on cargo. We've been talking about it so much just ourselves the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I've had so much
You
IRL
did-
shit
yeah.
going on that we've had to end early
Yeah.
a few times and blah 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 blah. But now we're good. So
Yeah.
don't forget to answer the call. No, we can't do that yet. We got to do the don't forget to like and subscribe and all that stuff. We're pretty close to 5K subs now, so try to get us there, please. That would be super sick.
We are. I'm trying to get my personal channel back over Answer the Call subs, and I'm almost there. But
Yeah,
don't
Croncy
let
put
me
out a
get
good
there
video.
by subbing to ATC.
Yeah, Croncy put out a really good video too, so you guys should check that out as well about the Evo stuff, just touching on those subjects and all that. And yeah, I got a video that's coming out that I haven't even started scripting yet, but I want to talk about the what we talked about ships and the variety of ships and why that's so important and why my question was just kind of breezed over is because it doesn't make sense with the way they've done things, and they might have to change the way they're doing things if they want people to actually fly their ships, right? So that's where I'm at with that, and I don't know.
I do want to thank if you have been supporting us as members, thank you very much. We
Yes.
had a member and a gifted member today from Warren, so thank you very much, Warren.
Warren,
Absolute Giga
thank
Chad.
you, dude.
Thank you so much on the YouTube.
Yeah, what a
And,
chatter.
yeah, Chad.
Yeah, CHADDR. What a Chad. Yeah, thanks, dude, and thank you everybody for watching the show and appreciating it. It's been very hard to make content for this game for the last month. It has been very hard. So coming through every week and you guys stopping by, we appreciate it. So thank you for that. Yeah. And don't forget to answer the call.
Hey.
Yeah.